Hello guys. I often see players struggling or even complaining about the difficulty of Albi Online because you never know what can happen and it can be frustrating. Many players no longer prefer to play solo or duo to make money, but in small groups because of their bad experience in Red Zone or even Black Zone, and that's normal. So today I decided to reveal 5 main tips to maximize your chances of survival and to minimize your losses when you walk out on these zones alone. These tips will be quite basic because they are mainly aimed at new players, but I hope you will still learn something. The first tip is a classic mistake that I often see. You need to use the mount according to your budget, but also according to the value of your equipment. Using a T3 horse or an ox that costs like 10k silver while your equipment costs like 500k for example, it's a big mistake and you should avoid that right now. The only two scenarios where you should use an inexpensive mount are if you don't have a lot of money or if you have an equipment that costs like 100k. Especially in Black Zone, the best is to use fast mounts like the Swift Claw or a mount with the same speed at least. This is the minimum because that will save you a lot of deaths. For example, if you are chased by a group of gankers with fast mounts, you will have no chance to run away because they will be able to chase you on the next map, especially if your gear is worth it. In most of the cases, if you manage to get out of the map with a fast mount, they will no longer chase you, except in some cases where they are in Yoski and Panther if you are very Gucci. The second tip is about the gates, which are your friends, especially if you don't have any hideouts. I think almost all players know that passing a gate will give you a shield during 30 seconds in a very large radius around it with a minute of cooldown. Being close to a gate is safe because you can quickly change maps. The shield remains even if you are dismount, but it will turn it off if you cast a spell or attack. But the gates are also important to get informations before rushing on the next map. If you see a player with ganker or small scale build for example, or even naked probably trying to hide his gear, you should go back. These people are scouts and they are not AFK and give the information to their group if someone enters the map. They will be ready to catch you on the road most of the time. However, it's not always like that, but be careful and don't take any risks when you can just go somewhere else. Try to avoid the roads as much as possible too. The next tip is related to the previous one. Always inspect the players around you if you have the time. Let's take the example of a scout on a gate. Target him and press Y to quickly inspect and see his weapon and his equipment. You will usually have confirmation if it's really a scout or not by inspecting him. For example, if you see someone with claws, Death Givers, Whispering Bow, One-Head Mace or Grey Seeker with Assassin Jacket or Fian Robe, it's probably a ganker with a group on the map. This tip to inspect someone is very important and must become natural. It will serve you and help you in many cases. Inspecting a player also allows you to know what he can do and cannot do according to his equipment and his weapon. It will save you many times from facing someone who has a build that counters you with a huge difference in IP. When you enter a new map, always analyze what is interesting to do on this map and avoid being greedy, especially if you are new. Said like that, it seems strange, but you will understand what I mean. If you can gather a resource node present on your map, then go, but be careful, because you don't know how long it has been here. Solo and duo gankers always like to camp the nodes. Most of the time you will find farmers, but sometimes gankers camp these nodes to easily catch farmers who try to approach it. Stay very attentive if you are gathering a node. This is where you are the most vulnerable and I have a lot of examples on my channel. Get back on your mount if you hear a suspicious noise or see a player coming to you. Don't take too many risks and don't be greedy. When you try to take a chest, I advise you to stay on your mount or keep it next to you. You can even check around the chest spawn to see if there are some nearby players to avoid being surprised when you are opening the chest. A tip about the chests that you can buy in the Black Zone: playing as much as possible around them is a good idea. It will sometimes happen that you are chased by good gankers, certainly Yuski and Panther who can block easily the gates and take their time to catch you. It happens to everyone. That's why if you can reach the chest, do it and hope there is nobody already waiting for you. When you are on the chest, you will have few seconds to stock the maximum of your items until they can attack you. That's better than taking the risks to force a gate and die. You should avoid maps with only 2 gates unless you have an hideout, because it's almost impossible to escape from a group of minimum like 3 good gankers with only 2 gates. So this is the end of the video. It were the tips that I consider important to know as a new player. Some tips, a video like that will be released sometimes. I will probably talk to you soon about the logic that I follow when I play solo Black Zone to be as profitable as possible. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I also hope it was useful for the new players who want to play solo and to avoid them to lose too much money. And if you have any questions about anything, don't hesitate to comment, and see you next time.